Hi, I'm Adam Marcello. As a professional drummer, musical director, and Roland artist, I've been using the SPD-SX sample pad for a long time. In this video, I'm going to explain what the sample pad is, what it can do, and ways that you can use it. The concept of the sample pad is that you can place any audio you want to play back into the unit, then hit any of the pads on the surface to play those sounds. Playing back audio can mean anything: a whole track, a song part, an effect, a click track, or an individual one-shot sound. Then there's the consideration of how you want the audio to play back. Does it need to start and stop on demand? Does it need to repeat every single hit? Does it need to be dynamic, or should it play back all at one fixed volume? The SPD-SX sample pad can handle all of this and a lot more, giving you the tools to better the production value of your performances, all within a rugged and reliable single unit that's intuitive to use. Let's take a look at the SPD-SX and see what it can do. As a drummer, I'm using the SPD-SX sample pad with a drum kit today, but it's important to know that this isn't only a sample pad for drummers. Almost any musician that wants to play back audio and control it can use it. Musicians, and especially drummers, are required more and more to play a wider palette of sounds, such as those from recordings that can't easily be played on a live stage. For example, a wide variety of percussion sounds, both acoustic and electronic, especially 808 and 909 style sounds, or instruments recorded in a studio that may not be practical to perform live, such as a string section. Modern performances can also require the running of backing tracks and a click track to stay in time too. A combination of tracks, clicks, and individual sounds can all be placed inside the SPD-SX, and the internal 16 gigs of memory can store all your sample audio. That's up to 25 hours of stereo or 50 hours of mono audio. Even audio from multiple gigs can be stored in here. The SPD-SX comes loaded with 16 preset kits and a whole host of different loops, one-shot sounds, and melodic phrases. There are 210 samples inside the SPD-SX. These kits and sounds are designed to give inspiration and show you what the SPD-SX can do. They're usable, but also all sounds and kits in the SPD-SX can be overwritten with your own samples, and all kit patches can be reprogrammed and renamed with your own audio and settings. The sample pad is all about your sounds and samples and making it your own. The SPD-SX supports wave audio files in 44.1 kHz 16-bit format, essentially CD quality audio playback. The sounds that you place into the SPD-SX are played by the 9 built-in rubber pads. These are velocity-sensitive pads, meaning that when you play the pads lightly, the sound will play back more quietly, and when you play them more heavily, the sound will play with a louder volume. However, any sound in the SPD-SX can also be set to be played at a fixed velocity, meaning that no matter how hard you hit the pad, the volume of the pad will be fixed at the level you have set. LED indicators on the pads make it obvious to see which pad you have triggered, and also let you know if a sample or loop is still playing. Any sound you place inside the SPD-SX can be assigned to any of the 9 pads. There's also external trigger inputs in the SPD-SX. 2 stereo trigger inputs allow an external Roland pad, kick pad, or acoustic drum trigger to be connected to play sounds inside the pad. These 2 inputs can be split using a stereo to twin mono 1/4-inch TRS cable to allow up to 4 pads to be connected. Additionally, a foot switch can be connected to the SPD-SX, which can be used to start or stop a wave, change the kit number, or even play a sound depending upon the function you choose. Once you have loaded in the sounds you wish to play, you need to choose the way that they play back. You can choose and customize the way that a sound plays back as you hit a pad. There are 3 main playback types for any sound: single, phrase, and loop. Single is perfect for playing basic drum hits, claps, and percussion sounds. Phrase will play an audio file once, all the way through, and it will stop when it comes to the end. Loop will play the audio file from the start to finish and then seamlessly loop the audio again repeatedly. Phrase and loop are particularly ideal for audio tracks, whether short or long. You can also specify the type of triggering when you hit each pad. Choosing Shot will play the audio each time you hit it, while Alt will play or stop the audio on the pad in sequence each time you hit it. Combining the playback template with triggering type and the velocity dynamics on or off gives you full flexibility of how every sound you place in the SPD-SX will play back. I've spoken about putting a sound on a pad, but it can sometimes be useful to place two sounds on a single pad. This creates a layer of two sounds. Assigning a sound as a sub-layer within the pad menu allows you to select another sample that you can layer with your original sample, effectively giving main and sub sounds on the same pad. The SPD-SX also gives you the ability to have separate volume control over both sounds to ensure the correct blend is created when choosing to layer two sounds together. Separate to this, there are occasions when linking two separate pads together can be very useful. For example, if you have an audio backing track and an audio click track that need to start together in sync, by using pad link, you can hit a single pad and start two pads at the same time. Combining the pad link with the Alt trigger type we showed earlier enables you to be able to stop and start the loop by simply hitting the same pad again. So now we know that we can put any audio in the SPD-SX, and that every audio file or track can be individually set to playback and controlled in different ways. But you may not want all audio that you play from the SPD-SX to be heard by your audience. Using that same example of the backing track and click track, you would only want the audience to hear the main audio. You definitely don't want them to hear the click track. However, as the performer, you certainly do need to hear it. The SPD-SX has a host of different outputs, and it's possible to send audio from each pad through these different outputs. First, we have the main output, two 1/4-inch TRS outputs assigned left and right, with the left being designated for mono audio, can be connected to the mixing desk so that your audio will come through the PA. A stereo pair of sub outputs, also designated left and right, again, left being good for mono audio signals, allows audio to be sent to a sub-mixer for monitoring and foldback. Last of all, there's a stereo headphone output for monitoring. Each pad has the ability to route audio through the main outputs and headphones, sub-output and headphones, or headphones only. Using our backing track example, your track assigned to one of the pads may need to go through the main outputs and headphones, while the audio click track on a separate pad can be routed through the sub-outputs and headphones. Your audience then only hears the backing track, while you, as the performer, have the backing track and the click track through the sub-outputs and headphones. A good hack that many SPD-SX users have worked out is that with the use of panning audio left and right within the module, it is possible to use the main and sub outputs as 4 mono individual outputs. We already know that the SPD-SX is about performing with your sounds and samples. but how do we get the sounds into the sample pad? There's a couple ways to do this. The first is via the Wave Manager software. This can be downloaded from the SPD-SX page on Roland.com and is available in PC and Mac versions. When you connect the SPD-SX to your computer via a USB cable, the software and the pad communicate, allowing you to drag and drop samples from your computer to the SPD-SX, creating kits and naming as you go. You can also save backups from your kits via the application. Incidentally, the same USB connection with the computer allows you to send stereo audio and MIDI to the computer for recording with a DAW. The second way to get audio into the SPD-SX is via USB flash memory. Just save your audio files to the USB and import them via the utility menu. We've talked about importing your existing samples, but what if you need to quickly record a sample to perform with or resample audio? The SPD-SX has a line and mic input, allowing you to record directly to one pad or to multiple pads. You can even re-record an existing sound with an added effect to it, or play a performance and record it to playback. As well as being a storage and playback device for your own samples, the SPD-SX gives you creative options that you can employ quickly to bolster your performances. Once you've got your audio into the SPD-SX and created and named all your kits, you need to know how to call upon a particular kit for a certain song in the setlist. The kit chain function allows you to specify the order that kits will go through as you change up or down. You can create up to 8 different set lists, so you can have variations for different performances or even a few set lists for different bands or gigs. And you use up to 20 kits with each of the 8 set lists. Using pad or foot switch control, you can also assign pads of the SPD-SX or external pads and foot switch to scroll up and down through the kits. When you're out on the road, you might quickly need to edit samples. For example, adjusting the volume of a sample, adjusting its pitch, adjusting the start or finish point of the sample, or deleting unwanted parts of a sound. The SPD-SX has an onboard wave editing function that allows you to adjust the sample inside the pad without needing to revert back to your DAW and adjust and re-export samples. Adding effects to your samples and controlling the effects in real time gives you more performance options and can add a real live element to your show. The SPD-SX has 2 effects engines that can be employed simultaneously. You can use a master effect, of which there are 21 different types to perform with, and 3 common effects presets on the control panel for filters, delays, and short loops that will apply to any audio playing from the pad at that time. But you can also assign effects to individual kits in the SPD-SX, so that you can choose the effect type and turn it on and off within your performance when using a particular kit in a certain song. The final thing to talk about here is the MIDI connectivity. Of course, the sample pad is all about storing, controlling, and playing back your samples from a single device. But there can be a need to control software instruments, control other gear on stage, or to connect to live control and automation software such as Ableton. The SPD-SX includes general MIDI in and out connections for this, and can also be connected with MIDI over USB cable as well. We've covered a lot of ground here, and we're really just giving you an overview of what's possible with the SPD-SX. No doubt you'll have come across a drummer or fellow musician somewhere that's already using one on stage. So why not talk to them about how they're using the SPD-SX and take inspiration from them to learn about using it within your own performances. Also available is the SPD-SX Pro, the flagship model sample pad, which takes everything we've shown you here with the SPD-SX and adds further features to get even more creative with live stage performances. To watch the video, check the link in the description. If what you've seen here today has been useful for you, why not hit the like button and consider subscribing to the Roland channel for more content?